The hum of the EOS-9 research vessel was usually enough to lull Dr. Mira Lau into a state of calm focus, but today she felt as if every vibration carried a warning. Her diagnostic station flickered gently to life, casting pale blue light across her face as she reviewed yet another report on the ship's failing graviton lattice. Across the lab, Dr. Saren Valasarati, chief scientist, renowned xenophysicist, and possibly the most unsettlingly elegant being Mira had ever worked with, stood with his arms folded behind his back, studying the projection of the damaged lattice with all three of his eyes. He wasn't looking at her, which was good. It would have been very distracting. Mira, Saren said finally, his voice smooth and resonant in that uncanny way that made his words feel like they were vibrating directly through her skull. You have been staring at the same data column for 6 minutes and 19 seconds. She nearly knocked over her tablet. No, I'm analyzing it. Deeply, very deeply. Saren's head tilted, bioluminescent lines along his temples shifting to a soft lavender. On Zarati, that was the color associated with mild skepticism. Fascinating. Your eyes do not move while you analyze. That's because I'm thinking, his lavender brightened. A human cognitive trance state. Not a trance, just focus. Your thermal signature increased by 4 degrees. Look, humans just do that. Mira cleared her throat, trying to hide the warmth blooming along her neck. Working with Saren for the past 9 months had been a daily exercise in self-control. Not because of attraction, although that certainly didn't help, but because Zarati had her cultural tendency to make every sentence feel like a subtle test. She was always on the edge of failing. He was brilliant, sharp, precise, and completely oblivious to how intensely he stared at things or people. When he wanted answers, she walked to the projection. Okay, the graviton lattice is destabilizing because the resonance dampeners are out of sync. We need to reset the harmonic field manually. Saren stepped beside her. He was tall, elegantly tall, and the faint crystalline scent his skin emitted always made Mira's brain stall for a second. You wish to recalibrate the harmonics by hand, he said. Inside the maintenance conduit. Yes, that conduit is pressurized, narrow, and prone to sudden electrical discharge. I know. You could die, Mira shrugged lightly. Humans do maintenance work like that all the time. Saren's 3 eyes fixed on her at once. Yes, I have read the reports. His voice lowered. Humans should not have survived evolutionary selection. Gee, thanks. I mean this as admiration. Sure doesn't sound like it. Saren turned fully toward her. Your species is soft-bodied, fragile, riddled with redundant organs, prone to emotional instability, and susceptible to environmental variables that would not inconvenience a larval Zarati. Mira blinked. Saren, those are insults. Compliments, insults, compliments delivered with scientific accuracy. He moved closer, hands now clasped behind his back, a gesture of earnest focus in Zarati culture. And yet, he continued, your kind has achieved interstellar travel within 4 centuries of industrialization. You have crossed dangerous cosmic borders without genetic modification. You explore environments even we avoid. You push and adapt and bleed and continue moving forward. Mira felt a nervous flutter in her chest. He wasn't teasing. He wasn't analyzing her like data. He was admiring her. Mira Lau. Ridiculous, emotional, chronically overworked Mira. I've long suspected, Saren added softly, that the universe underestimated your species. She swallowed. That's kind of you to say. It is not kindness. It is truth. Their gazes held for a moment that felt uncomfortably intimate yet impossible to break. The lab lights flickered hard. A deep groan shuddered through the ship as the graviton lattice destabilized again. Saren turned sharply. The harmonic field is dropping. We must proceed, right? Mira said quickly. I'll get into the conduit and you will not go alone. Mira blinked. Saren, the conduit is barely large enough for me. Then I will follow you. There's no space. He stepped closer, voice dropping into a tone she rarely heard from. Sharp, instinctive. You are my partner on this project. Your life is not expendable. I will accompany you. Partner. Not subordinate. Not assistant. Not the human. Partner. She tugged at her gloves. trying to pretend the word didn't send a ridiculous thrill through her. Fine, she said. But if we get electrocuted, I'm blaming you. Acceptable. I will note it in the mission log. Saren, that was a joke. I know. I am improving at recognizing them a beat. That was humor as well. She stared. Was it? I am attempting humor. Oh, well, good effort. They moved into the service corridor. As they crawled into the narrow conduit, Mira muttered to herself, "Great, nothing says professional like sharing a ventilation tube with the alien you may or may not have a crush on." I heard that. Saren said behind her. She froze. "You were not meant to," she whispered. "I hear most things. Forget it. I cannot." Zerati memory is flawless. Fantastic. He paused. "You have a crush on me? Focus on the harmonics, Saren." A soft hum vibrated through the conduit tan. For a second, Mira thought it was the graviton field stabilizing, but then she heard it. A low, melodic sound generated by Saren's bioluminescent plates. Zerati laughter. Unexpected, warm, gentle, it wrapped around her like sunlight. "I am pleased," he said quietly. Mira's heart nearly short-circuited. Pleased about? You will elaborate." "After we survive," the conduit trembled. Sparks crackled ahead. The graviton core throbbed like a wounded heart. Saren's voice shifted back to command mode. "Ready yourself, Mira. We recalibrate on my mark." She inhaled deeply. Her fear faded. Her fluster settled into focus. With Saren behind her, with his unwavering calm and his strange, fierce respect, Mira felt something she rarely allowed herself. Confidence. "Mark," Saren said. Mira reached forward, and the conduit exploded in light. The explosion was not literal. Sparks danced along the conduit walls, accompanied by a low hum as the graviton lattice shivered violently, sending waves of energy pulsing through the narrow maintenance tube. Mira's heart raced as she crouched, tools clutched tightly, while Saren moved with terrifying precision behind her, adjusting the harmonic dampeners mid-flow. His three eyes glimmered in the dim conduit light, reflecting calculations faster than any human mind could follow. "Almost there," he said calmly, voice steady despite the shower of electric sparks. Mira's ears were ringing, adrenaline painting every detail in hyperfocus. Her gloved hands shook slightly, but she pushed through, right? "Almost there," she muttered, running the final calibration along the lattice nodes. The energy pulsed erratically, and the entire tube hummed like it might tear itself apart. Saren's hand, impossibly fast, brushed against hers to stabilize a slipping tool. The contact was brief, but it sent a jolt straight through her chest. She ignored it, focusing. The lattice began to pulse in harmony, a gentle, steady beat replacing the chaotic thrumming that had threatened to rip the ship apart. The hum dimmed, the sparks vanished, and a soft glow bathed the conduit. The graviton lattice was alive and stable. "We did it," Mira whispered, letting herself exhale for the first time in minutes. "Yes," Saren said simply, voice quieter now, almost reverent. He stepped closer, letting the bioluminescent lines along his temples shift to a deep, warm amber as Roddy's sign of satisfaction and pleasure. Mira swallowed hard, realizing that the amber light wasn't just from the lattice's stabilization. It was him. The room, or rather, the conduit, felt impossibly small, yet impossibly intimate. Sparks from earlier floated faintly in the air, glittering like microstars around them. You're amazing," Mira said before she could stop herself. Her words hung in the hum of the lattice, uncomfortably human and oddly fragile. Saren paused, his expression unreadable for a heartbeat, then shifted. His voice softened, carrying that strange resonance that vibrated against her chest. "You are remarkable as well. Your species, your determination, it is inspiring." Mira blinked. "Inspiring, you mean? The work we just did?" "I mean everything," he replied, stepping just a fraction closer. The heat from his body was impossible to ignore, and the faint scent of crystallized ether from his skin filled her senses. "The work, the courage, the willingness to put yourself at risk. Humans have an audacity I do not fully comprehend, but I admire it." Mira's mind stumbled, thoughts tripping over each other. Audacity, admiration, respect. The words were so starkly alien, yet somehow familiar, and they dug into her chest like sunlight through a storm cloud. Saren. She stopped herself, suddenly aware of how ridiculous she must sound. He tilted his head, one eye narrowing slightly in a gesture she had come to recognize as curiosity. You wish to continue? Continue? Speaking, he said simply. This conversation, your human emotions are fascinating. They are rarely concealed, even when dangerous to the speaker. You are transparent, brave, and highly entertaining. Mira swallowed, her heartbeat accelerating again, but this time not entirely from the adrenaline. Well, thank you. I think Saren's lines flickered to a lighter amber, as rowdy laugh were as close to one as his species could manage, slipping into the soft hum of the conduit. Your species laughs at danger, and invites it, curious, perhaps foolish, but effective. Effective is one way to put it, Mira said dryly, finally allowing herself a grin. Or terrifying to anyone who hasn't spent their childhood climbing trees and chasing death on purpose. He studied her, eyes blinking in a synchronized pattern. And yet you survive, thrive, even this quality, this resilience. It explains why your species continues to colonize beyond your homeworld. You adapt externally rather than internally. You modify your environment rather than yourselves. Ingenious, reckless, remarkable. Mira laughed softly, shaking her head. We just get stubborn sometimes. Saren's middle eye narrowed slightly, a gesture that somehow conveyed amusement and thought simultaneously. Your stubbornness is advantageous. You persist where others would surrender. You defy expectations by refusing to be optimized for survival. You maintain humanity, despite all logic. I guess it's a matter of pride, Mira said quietly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. We don't just survive. We insist on being ourselves, even when it's, well, dangerous. He paused, tilting his head, amber lines glowing faintly as though considering something deeply. Then he said, dangerous and beautiful. Humans have beauty in their defiance of logic, in their refusal to yield. Your species' body, mind, and spirit all insist on being present. All insist on being human. Mira felt her breath catch. She wasn't sure if it was the heat from the conduit, the lingering adrenaline, or the weight of his words, but she felt exposed, entirely human in front of a being who had no obligation to understand, yet somehow did before she could respond. The hum of the lattice shifted subtly, a residual pulse confirming stability. Saren gestured toward the maintenance hatch. We should exit. The lattice will continue to self-regulate. Your work is sufficient. Mira hesitated. Saren, can I ask you something personal? He inclined his head, one amber line flickering. You may. Why? Why do you care? About humans? About me? About all this? She gestured vaguely to the lattice, the ship, and the stars beyond the viewport they had left behind. He considered her, silent for a heartbeat that felt like an eternity. Then he said simply, because humans, because you, remind me that survival is not merely a calculation. It is a choice, a struggle, a challenge, and a celebration. Mira's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she found herself laughing softly, a sound that startled her as much as it seemed to please him. A celebration, huh? You really do say weird things sometimes. Perhaps, he said, voice low, almost intimate. But it is true. I admire your species for it, and I admire you. The conduit felt impossibly small, impossibly warm, the stars outside vast and indifferent. And in that impossible corner of space, Mira realized something extraordinary. In a universe built for precision, calculations, and survival, there was room for wonder, for courage, and for human stubbornness. Saren's gaze lingered. The amber glow faded slowly to soft lavender. He gestured toward the exit. Shall we return to the lab? There is work to be done. Mira stood straighter, brushing her gloves against her uniform. She met his gaze, fully aware of the fragile, beautiful tension between them. Absolutely. But I like working with you, Saren. Your honesty is delightful, he said, and dangerous. But I am willing to risk it. She smiled, stepping past him toward the hatch. He followed, silent, precise, and just close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating off his presence. The stars outside shimmered with cold indifference. But inside the narrow corridors of the EOS-9, a human and his Roddy had found understanding, respect, and something closer to friendship, or perhaps something more. As the hatch sealed behind them, the faint hum of the lattice pulsing in perfect rhythm, Mira realized that humanity's stubbornness had not only saved the ship, it had earned recognition in a universe that often dismissed their species as soft, fragile, and impossible. But more than that, it had earned her something she had not expected: the respect, admiration, and attention of one of the galaxy's most brilliant minds. And maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't mind if it was also something more.